channel is Anila Sita 101. Today we're gonna talk about something that I wasn't sure I wanted to make a video on because it's a little bit different from the stuff that I usually do, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit cheeky and it's a little bit naughty and it's a little bit bad. I figured we might as well do it because I have spent years perfecting my tactics. Not necessarily my tactics. I promise I'm not a bad person. You probably clicked on this because you have somebody in your life that you want to chase you. Particularly a fuckboy or a player, because these guys are the most difficult to get their attention. And I'm gonna get all into why. And once you understand them more and understand what you need to do, you're gonna start to see results. I'm just gonna give a little warning. This shit is not for the faint-hearted. If they're players, they will try to fuck with your ego so that you will like them and chase them. First tip is have a life. This is so important. If you don't have a life, it's really easy to get caught up in everything and start chasing them. If you have nothing to distract yourself, you're gonna feel like there's a huge loss if you don't get their attention, as if their attention was the most important thing in your world. Bitch, it's not. Their attention is not the most important thing. This is just a fun little game, but don't see it as more than that, because as soon as you get your feelings involved and you start caring, that's when everything goes to shit. It's important that you have a passion, if not different passions or different things that you like to do. That could also be a really good friend group that you do fun stuff with. Just make sure that you have some kind of life. Now, the second tip is you need to have options when it comes to men, or at least pretend that you have them. Because again, when you have options, it's not like your whole world revolves around one person, which also makes your energy come off in a different way. If you're basically only invested with one guy, it can very easily look from their end like all of your intention is set on them. They will literally trick you somehow where you make it known to them that they're the only person you're speaking with, and they'll be like, okay, got that bitch in the bag. She's not talking to anybody else. I've pretty much got her. I don't have to do anything. Well, no, you don't have to state that you have your options. It is all about attitude. That's what this whole video is about. It's about bad bitch energy. And this is not about looks. Do not be mistaken. This is really about attitude. And a bad bitch has her options. She's got different guys that she's speaking with, or different guys who are interested in her. And again, if you shouldn't have that, I've had times in my life where that wasn't the case for me and I genuinely was just interested in one guy. Well, then you need to make sure that you really have a life, because that is gonna be sort of the competition. Listen, if you disappoint me, I don't give a fuck, because I have things that I'm doing in life and dreams that I'm chasing, so I don't really care if I impress you or not. My next little tip is to not be afraid. I've noticed that a fearless bitch comes off a different way than a girl who's afraid to lose somebody. A girl who's afraid to lose somebody always loses, because the person who cares the least is the one who wins. When I'm talking about being fearless, I'm gonna give you different examples. I will say that specifically players and fuckboys, they test the waters. They will send you messages to test where your standards are at. And this is where I say as well, you need to be very clear about who you are and about what you have to offer. You will not go below your standards. If you have a certain standard, they are going to meet you there. And trust me, if you do what I say, you can get a fuckboy to take you on dates with roses and lots of shit that you would have never expected. The problem is, if you have no standard, they will literally just meet you anywhere where it pleases them. But if you have a standard, they will have to meet you there. So let's talk about the fearless thing. Guys, fuckboys will text you things, specifically sexual things sometimes, to see where you stand. I think it's really important to keep class, and by that I mean, so say they send you a message, you have to not be afraid to call them out on their shit and be like, listen, please stop sending me these messages. If you want to talk to me, talk to me normally and don't talk to me with these sexual ass messages. Don't come at me with that shit. You have to be honest and not be afraid. And this is where I'm saying to not be afraid, because sometimes us girls were like, I don't want to send that message because I'm afraid if I say this, like, he's gonna leave me on red. He's gonna find some other bitch who he can do that with. Yeah, he's always gonna find some other bitch who he can do that with, but you know what? He's gonna text her that shit. He's gonna make her come over as a booty call, do it with her, and then he's gonna drop her like that. And you don't wanna add ghost to your body count. So you want to keep shit classy. You want somebody to reach your level, your standard. Something interesting that I read in a book that always stayed with me was men genuinely like the chase. They like to chase a woman, even if they're fuckboys. They like that challenge. The fact that, wait a minute. Why is she's calling me out on my shit? She doesn't really care. And it starts to sink in, because when you are fearless, you're like, listen, take it or fucking leave it, bro. If you can't treat me with respect, I'm just gonna walk away. And this brings me to another thing of being fearless. If you already called out somebody and they're just not responding to that, they just keep testing the waters. See, another little thing that I learned was guys usually don't respond to words. They respond to actions. In other words, if he sends you something that's inappropriate, something that's disrespectful, when you've already called him out, leave that motherfucker undelivered or read. Delivered on Snapchat is even worse. Like, you don't even open their message. That's how much you don't give a fuck. It really does work. Like, sometimes us girls, we be afraid and we be like, nah, I can't do that to him. Like, he's gonna hate me if I leave him undelivered or read. Trust me. If you do this, you're messing with their ego, and that is what they're pretty much, that's how they get bitches, by messing with girls' egos. I'm gonna get into this more specifically afterwards. You have to beat them at their own game. So if you're able to mess with their ego, when they're so used to doing it to you, bitch, you won. So leave them undelivered, leave them unread. And if they're the typical fuckboy, they're gonna send you probably multiple messages, or they will send you one or two, and if not, just leave them undelivered till they hit you up again, because they will. They're so not used to having their ego messed with like that it will get them at the right place. And what this will also teach them is what it feels like to not have you. And when they have your absence, they start to not take you for granted. They appreciate you more. So the whole leaving them unread, leaving them undelivered, I think it just works magnificently. If you want to be really, really extra, and this is again where I say, do not be fearless, because I've done this shit and it always works like a charm. If they are treating you, I really hope that no guy that I'm speaking with is gonna see this video because it's like I'm exposing all of my tricks, but this is just for the ladies. If things are really bothering you, like they're being really disrespectful, you can literally just send them a message. Listen, things just aren't working for me. I think we should just leave it. I think you'll find somebody who's right for you, but it's just not gonna be me. I've done this a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I've done this with a lot of different people, knowing that they would come back around and apologize and meet me at my standard. If you say something like that, it looks really unbothered, and that's what's gonna bother them the most. Also, the fact that they're like, this bitch is just willing to cut me off because I disrespected her. This works. It really does. And I will say that if these things don't really work, then you have to be prepared for them not to care. The thing is, even though I'm talking about playing games and messing with their ego, I will say that some of these guys, they will purposely want to mess with your ego and disrespect you. And the main thing that you need to have is self-respect. And that's why I'm saying sometimes you have to walk away from a situation for them to treat you better, or for them to just walk away, because you're not going to allow that disrespect. And you have to remember your options and your life and the fact that you existed before they came around. You know what I'm saying? Always remember that. Be prepared for them not to care should you call them out. But if you keep allowing it and tolerating it, you'll never see who they could actually be and if they could actually meet you at your standard. Because if you just let it slide, trust me, it's gonna be fun on their terms and not fun on your terms. And that's not what you want. You want to have fun on your terms. So that's why I'm saying that these things, just keep that in mind. I wanted to talk about the whole ego thing. I read a book a while ago, I think when I was 16, and I had like my first kind of situation with a player. And it was called The Game by Neil Strauss. And there's a specific category of books called pickup artists, which if you don't know what it is, pickup artists are basically players. It's basically guys who use tricks to get women. And I read this because I was really interested in the mindset of a player. There was this one time where this guy was basically teaching different men how to get women. And his advice was this. He said, go to a group of women, and if there's one girl that you're interested in, don't even look at her and speak to her friends. And every time that you look at her, you're gonna make it about criticizing her. So you're gonna say something like, your lipstick is smudged, and then turn back to the friends. And apparently that would make her so insecure and mess with her ego so much that she would be craving his approval. And this book was literally talking about men who would manage to get women into compromising situations, like a married woman, getting her into a threesome and stuff like that. It was really brutal, but it worked. And I'm telling you this so that you know that this is what they are doing. They're messing with your ego. And that's why I'm saying, if you can basically beat them at their own game and mess with their ego just as hard, just know that these are tricks. If they're being disrespectful, it might seem like, oh, why doesn't he like me? Why is he being so disrespectful? I guess I'm not that special to him. No. He might just be playing games, and that's usually the case with fuckboys, especially when they really want somebody. Specifically when she's got a bad bitch attitude, they really want her. They will play really hard. They will do things that will be cruel, and that's why I'm saying this isn't for the faint-hearted. Like, it will be difficult, but you just always have to remember that it's a game, and that the less that you care, you're basically winning. If you start getting a little bit insecure about their reaction or about the way that they're behaving, or they're maybe not responding the way that you're expecting it to go, first of all, like I said, if they walk away, do not message them. Be prepared to just not care, as in to them. It has to look like you don't care. You can cry and care as much as you want internally, because I'm personally a very emotional person. I will be very emotional and in my feelings when these things happen, but I will never ever show that to the person. And that is the main thing. You cannot show it. And if you start feeling insecure, something that always worked for me in the past was to repeat to myself, he wants me, he wants me, he wants me, he wants me. When I did that, it kind of raises your energy to a place of that bad bitch of like, he wants me, I'm that girl, and he's gonna chase me. And if you have this attitude more and you really ingrain it, it's like it becomes stronger and they will sense it. So that's all I'm gonna say on this topic. This is really naughty and kind of cheeky, but do remember that basically what I'm preaching is self-respect. Sometimes these guys deserve it, and you just gotta remember that you're that bitch and you existed before them. At some point, you will probably get sick of the games and realize this isn't maybe who I want, or they could actually bring their guard down, because usually players are the kinds of people who just have a lot of trust issues. That's who they are. They have massive intimacy and trust issues, and that's what made them the way they are. So maybe you can be that girl that breaks down that barrier by beating them at their own game. So sometimes it does go into love. Anyways, I hope what I was saying was useful, and thank you for watching this. Subscribe if you want more videos like this.